because this thing in the back of everybody's mind, we have to be in power. And the only way you can do that, of course, is to give people, buy their votes with more government largesse. That's the only way that they thought we could do it. And if that's the case, guys, if that's real, if that's true, then why the hell do we even fight? I mean, what does it really matter, right? If we're heading toward the iceberg at 10 knots or 5, we're going to hit it. Well, I'm going to scream about that. I'm going to say, there's a frigging iceberg out there, and it's horrible for America. And I don't care whether the Republicans are captaining this ship or the Democrats. We're going to hit this thing if we keep going in that direction. Now, I am far from a perfect person or representative or politician. I'm well aware that I have all my own foibles, just like every other human being. But I've also got my own standards that I try my best to live up to. And it really was a difficult thing to do, to say to yourself, I'm going to change this whole structure, this concept of what, in terms of political party registration. I'm going to do it. But what was amazing when I did it, it really didn't feel bad at all. In fact, it was kind of liberating. Because you know what? I don't have to now think about how to rationalize my support for somebody that I really don't want to vote for. I don't have to do that anymore. And I'm not gonna. And I have in the past, and I'm sorry for it. Mea culpa. Mea culpa. I wish I was a better person. I wish I had stepped out long ago and said, I'm not going to do this anymore. John F. Kennedy said it, as he often does, certainly better than I could, but it was a very succinct little phrase. It was, sometimes party asks too much. And for me, I'm there. So I have made this decision. I am stepping forward in this race. I am well aware of the castigation of my friends and enemies about this decision. And really and truly, for the longest period of time, I just kept, maybe again it was rationalization, it may have been on my part. I try to analyze this. I'm not positive where it separates out between rationalization and true, ideology. But for the longest time, I just kept saying, well, they can't win. These other two people, they can't win. And we need somebody who can, because we don't want John Hickenlooper. Right? We want somebody who can. We don't want John Hickenlooper. And so I did all these things, and I supported Josh Penry, and that wasn't a difficult thing to do. That wasn't a big challenge for my principles. Now that he's gone on to support Jane, I don't know. Maybe Ron just she's not my candidate. So mostly because, of course, John McCain recruited her, so that's enough for me. I wouldn't go another inch in that direction. But okay, so I thought this is a good guy, young, dynamic. Thought he was a good conservative. No problem. Sign on. I did. That went along for a while. He dropped out. Now, there's all kinds of speculation. I do not know. I do not know the actual reason. You've all heard, I'm sure, many reasons why, or a lot of speculation as to why that happened. The party came in, chose someone, said, Josh, it's not your time. You wait, hang on. Which, of course, we're wont to do, right? That's happened many times. It's not your time. It's not your turn. You hang on. Doesn't matter what you believe, think. It's not your time. It's not your turn. Pretty soon you're going to be okay. We'll take care of you. Don't worry. I don't know if that was it. That's what you hear all the time. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. At any rate, drops out. Okay. So what am I left with? I'm left with a decision between two individuals who are still there. Scott McGinnis and Mays. Now of course I had met Dan. I talked to him at length. I had become very upset. I was never going to, as I told him the very first time we met, I can't even wish you good luck because of what he told me about his position on immigration. And that he wanted an amnesty, and that he did not want E-Verify because the businesses, he said, the business community should not be burdened with being the INS. He didn't know it was the ICE, but the INS, he said. And I said, well, you know, I can't even wish you good luck, because it's just absolutely not in my, you know, not my sights here as a potential candidate, because I certainly disagree with you on some very basic issues. But, you know, nice to meet you and goodbye. Well, that was about 6 months, maybe 6 or 7 months later. Dear friend of mine, Frida Poundstone, kept calling me up and saying, this guy is great, he's wonderful, and don't worry, he's changed entirely on the issue of immigration, so you have to meet him again. Okay, after about 6 or 7 calls, I agreed to meet him again, and indeed he told me, you know, you were right all along, I was wrong about everything, and sorry about that. Well, I totally understand that, you know, people change their mind. Then he went on to say that, he kept saying, anybody who says I was ever for amnesty is a liar. I don't know how many times he said it, and frankly, what is he telling me at that point in time? I mean, I could remember our conversation. It wasn't that long ago. I'm not really that senile. I know exactly what he told me. And then a lot of other things started developing about it. And so that wasn't an issue. I mean, from my point of view, it was not a candidate I was ever going to support, ever. And so Scott McGinnis was the alternative. So Josh Penry and I, just a few days after Josh drops out, I can't remember, maybe it's a week or so, I'm not sure. We write this thing. We sit down, I mean, I'm my house, his house, we just emailing back and forth and pushing it back and forth, and we write this thing called the Contract with Colorado. That's what we call it. And I think it's a great time. I saw that Dan called it toilet paper the other day. Well, I happen to think it's more than that. And there are principles I believe in, and I wanted, and what we wanted to do, of course, was, this guy's going crazy here trying to get somebody's attention, so will you please come in or go away? I don't know. Or maybe you're just waving at people that are going by. I don't know. So we go to Scott and we say, look, Scott, because we're worried. Actually, we're concerned. Because you know what? We're not positive Scott is all that well grounded in the issues that we care about, grounded as a conservative. So we write this thing. And it's on my website. It is my platform. I feel that I can absolutely... I'm not plagiarizing it. Come to think of it. I mean, I wrote it, or at least I helped write it. And so I don't feel bad about putting it on my website and saying this is my platform. But the thing is, we went to him, we went to Scott and said, will you sign this? And we did so because we were trying to corral him. That's the honest to God truth. We were worried about where he was going to go if he'd gotten elected. And we felt if he signed on to this thing and if we make a big issue out of it, you know, go to the press, which we did. We held a big event. And, you know, everybody was there and we all hoopla and stuff. And he signs on to this thing and we think, okay, I mean, that's as much as we can kind of do in order to assure that, however, if he wins, because he had more money than anybody else, he certainly had all the party behind him, that we would have a conservative governor. Well, then everything, you know, would happen subsequent to that. Everything falls apart. All this stuff about plagiarism, which is one thing, but beyond that, I mean, my sister-in-law is visiting with us now. She's an English teacher, and for her that was like, hey, you know, what are you talking about? Plagiarism? That's the mortal sin, you know, for an English teacher, right? But for a politician, it's probably not the worst crime. And but this other issue about the 300,000, how are you going to deal with it? I mean, it just became apparent to me, especially at the time. I felt this is not going to work. These guys are not going to make it. The party has to have the opportunity to put somebody else in. I went to Dick Wadhams. We had a number of conversations. We were pretty much simpatico for a while. Dick did not like either one of those candidates. I'm assuming still doesn't. I don't know. I'm just telling you what he told me at the time. And so we were thinking, well, like, how are we going to do this? I mean, what can we do? We got to get a better candidate. These guys are not going to win. We need a candidate.